see. Do you know what cardiac muscle tissue is?
No.
You know where we're at?
Yeah.
Track. What happened?
Cardio.
That's right. What cardio involves?
Heart.
The heart.
Stuff.
Heart and stuff.
Yes.
You're on the right track.
Okay.
All right. Good thing you let me have notes in your dream, so that would be lost. All right, the cardiac muscle cells make up the myocardium portion of the heart wall. They are relatively short branch fibers that measure about 10 to 20, stop laughing, 10 to 20 micrometers in diameter and 50 to 100 micrometers in length. Generally, each cardiac myocyte contains a single nucleus, which is centrally positioned. Now, doesn't that sound interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, there's more. Their overlapping arrangement creates alternating dark A and light I bands or striations similar to those seen in skeletal muscle tissue. Sarcoplasmic reticulum tubules surround the myofibrils. However, they are not well organized and do not have terminal cisternae, unlike other types of muscle tissues. Cardiac myocytes are joined end to end by intercalated discs. Nice.
Nice.
Okay.
Action.
Hey.
Hey, I'm here to talk to you about epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is also referred to as the epithelium and is composed of one or more layers of closely packed cells. Epithelial tissues contain little to no extracellular matrix, forms most glands in the body, and covers the body's surfaces as well as lines the body and organ cavities. All epithelia contain 6 common characteristics, which include cellularity, polarity, attachment to a basement membrane, vascularity, extensive innervation, and a high regeneration capacity. The functions of epithelial tissue are that it provides physical protection of both the internal and external surfaces of the body, and it is also selectively permeable, meaning all substances that enter and leave the body must pass through the epithelium, which means the epithelial tissues act as the gatekeepers. Some epithelium produce and release secretions. This process usually takes place in one of the many glands throughout the body. Due to the fact that epithelial tissues are coated in sensory nerve endings, they detect changes in the external environment at the surface. These nerve endings are responsible for relaying sensory input to the nervous system concerning touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. Some organs contain a special layer of epithelium called neuroepithelium, which houses the cells responsible for the senses of sight, taste, smell, hearing, and equilibrium. Epithelial tissues can be classified into a 2-part name in which the first name describes the number of epithelial layers and the second describes the shape of the cells. There are both simple and stratified epithelium. Since glands are a main part of the epithelium, they include endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Endocrine glands lack ducts and secrete products, hormones, directly into the blood. The exocrine glands originate from invagination of the epithelium, which burrows into the deeper connective tissues.
Hey Steven, I'm from your biology class. Do you remember me? Yes? No? Okay, well, I'm here in your dream to teach you about connective tissue. Connective tissue, which is also known as CT, is the most diverse and most abundant from all the other tissues that you've learned about. And there's 3 basic components of connective tissue. There's cells, protein fibers, and ground substance. Remember those 3. Some examples of connective tissue are tendons, ligaments, adipose tissue, cartilage, bone, and blood. Each set of connective tissue is made up of different kinds of cell types. Ligaments and tendons they contain fibroblasts. Adipose connective tissue includes adipocytes, and cartilage is made up of chondrocytes. Most connective tissue doesn't come into direct contact with one another, so they're distributed very widely all throughout the tissue. Resident cells are stationary cells that live in the matrix of connective tissue. Their function is to support, maintain, and repair extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrix is a collection of extracellular molecules that are secreted by cells that provide structural and biochemical support to the surrounding cells. There are 2 types of embryonic connective tissues. There's mesenchyme and mucous connective tissue. Mesenchyme is a star or spindle-shaped cell that's distributed within a gel-like ground substance that contains very fine immature protein fibers. Mucus connective tissue is a lot of times referred to as Wharton's jelly, and those immature protein fibers that is contained there are way more numerous than of the protein fibers that are in mesenchyme. Mesenchyme is only found within the umbilical cord. So we have loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Loose contains a lot fewer cells and protein fibers than dense connective tissue, but in loose connective tissue, the protein fibers they're very sparse and they're irregularly arranged all over, so that's why it gets the name loose. And there's also dense connective tissue, which is composed of protein fibers and less ground substance than loose connective tissue. There are 3 different categories of dense connective tissue. There's dense regular CT, dense irregular CT, and elastic CT. Dense regular CT is, it contains limited ground substance but it's still abundant in collagen fibers. They're packed very tightly and they align parallel to one another. Dense irregular connective tissue contains bundles and clumps of collagen fibers that extend in all different directions. An elastic CT is composed of numerous fibroblasts among the branching and the densely packed elastic fibers. These elastic fibers provide the ability for the tissue to stretch and recoil. So think of like an elastic rubber band. We can stretch it, but it'll still go back to its normal shape. This tissue is found in the walls of the large arteries, the trachea, and the vocal cords. We also have bone connective tissue, and its function is to provide levers for the body's movement. It supports our soft structures, and it protects all of our organs. And they also store calcium and phosphorus. I hope you learned a little bit more about connective tissue, so when you go back to class and you take your test, you know what you're talking about.
Skeletal muscles are the most common type of muscle. They help you to move. They are also called voluntary or striated muscular tissue. They allow you to move around or do whatever you wish. That's what voluntary means. Striated simply means that they're striped. And when you look at a striated muscle under the microscope, there are skeletal muscle fibers that exhibit alternating light and dark bands. Those bands are called striations.
That water's hot. That water's hot. Hi, I'm the nervous system. I'm basically a bunch of neurons that receive, send, and process nerve impulses. As you can see, I'm trying to send a message right now. That water is hot. That water is hot. I also contain some glial cells that also help to nourish, protect, and support me, the neurons. I'm basically located in the brain, the spinal cord, and all of the nerves in our body. Sorry, I really have to go though. Didn't I tell you that water is hot?
So you can tell me what happened in class today.